Okay, so here we are with my second of these Flash Gordon Greatest Adventure of All figures, based on the vintage Mattel Flash Gordon action figures from the 1970s, which in turn were based on the animated series by Filmation. So, if you want to hear me read the blurb on the back here, make sure you watch my video unboxing the Flash Gordon action figure, because that's where I read all that stuff and went over all the packaging. The packaging on these guys is identical. The card is exactly the same, except for Ming has the word Ming up here instead of the name Flash Gordon. So that's really the only difference in the packaging. It's got the same piece of artwork with all these various characters, most of which were not made into action figures in this line, but were made in the vintage line. So we only have Ming and Flash. So no Dr. Zarkov, no King Voltan, no Thun, no Lizard Woman, no Beast Man, and no whatever his name is. I forget what his name is. He's not important enough to look up. He's just some kind of jabroni. So, anyway, since I already went over the package in the Flash Gordon video, you can watch that one. Let's just go ahead and open up Ming right now and cut to the chase. And like with Flash, the bubble is kind of sandwiched in between the card here. So we gotta open it up that way. And then let's try to get him out of the package, hopefully without anything falling out this time. Because I really don't want to lose the ray gun. And the ray gun fell out again. Okay, so here's the ray gun. And I believe this is identical to the ray gun that Flash comes with. Yep, it is the same Flash Gordon ray gun. Same one that came with Flash. So the kitty cat is up here with me, and she's nuzzling up against my cord. So I don't want her to knock over the computer, so I gently petted her to get her to move. She's a sweet kitty, but I don't want her knocking over my computer. Hey, stop that. I just told you to stop. I don't know why she keeps nuzzling up against the cord, nuzzling up against the computer. It doesn't make any sense to me. So this is, again, with the twist tie that I was talking about was so obnoxious with Flash. But this one's even worse because they took the twisted twist tie and then twisted it up some more. So it's like all twisty. You know how like sometimes they have a twist tie that they've already twist tied it and then they double up on the twist of the tie, and it's just annoying. So there, I got the twist tie out of there. Put in my old trash can I have down there. And take my X-Acto knife and cut the tabs. Which thankfully, the tabs did not mar the silver paint on Flash Gordon's boots. Ming's boots are a dark blue color, so I'm not as concerned about it this time, but I'm still concerned about it. So anytime they have these ties, there's always a chance it could scuff the paint or dig into the plastic at the ankles here. And it doesn't look like it did too badly. It looks like it's okay. So, I think that they had planned on, or did, and I never saw it, making a Batman figure that was going to go in a Batman versus Predator set. And it would not surprise me if these were the same exact boots that they used on Batman, because those are very Batman-looking boots. And if you look at the way that the glare is shining on the boots from my lamp overhead, you can see that the straps did indeed, those rubber tabs did indeed mark the figure at the ankle. See it right here? I hate that. So yeah, basically these bodies were made for that Batman figure, and I think a Superman versus Aliens that was going to come out at the same time. And you know, since they'd invested all this money into the tooling to make these superhero bodies, they're like, well, what other superheroes we could do? And you know, Marvel is pretty much sewn up at Hasbro, and I think uh, Mattel was doing DC at that time, but they wound up losing it to McFarlane. These figures are about the size of the McFarlane DC figures, I think. But NECA wound up getting the rights to do King Features characters. So they did Defenders of the Earth first, and I was never able to find any of those. And then they did these sweet animated Flash Gordon figures. And then apparently they've got Flash and Ming coming out based on their movie costumes, I think. But I haven't seen those yet. And they're wearing the movie costumes, but they're not going to be based on the actors. So I think Ming will still have the same head sculpt that they used here. It's just going to be colored in a more movie way. Maybe they give him a collar more like the movie or something. I don't know. But it doesn't look like Max von Sydow. This is a great head sculpt. It's got a lot of character to it. You know, you could cut yourself on those cheekbones. They're so sharp. And look at the eyebrows, the way they all curl up and everything. It looks like my eyebrows. This guy could be my twin. I'd have to kind of like part the beard in half. Like maybe I could do that. Maybe use some mousse or something and part my beard in half, and I could look a little more like Ming. Pathetic earthlings, who will save you now? So he's got like this kind of like close-fitting helmet close to the scalp. Reminds me of Merlin in Excalibur, even though Ming did it first, because he had the helmet like this oftentimes in the comic strip. And then one thing that kind of bugs me about this, and this kind of happened as a result of them basing the figure off of the original action figure, is that his skin color is almost, not quite, but close enough. It's almost the same color as his uniform. And that makes him look kind of naked, which is weird. Like, you see what I'm talking about, right? Like I can't fault NECA, because they're just basing it off of what was done with the original action figure. But I can fault Mattel, who cut a lot of corners when they were making these figures in the 70s. And they weren't quite as high quality as the Star Wars action figures they were supposed to be competing with, which is probably part of why they didn't do as well. I don't know. Like, it seems to me like in the late part of the 70s, toy companies would try to get pretty much any science fiction license they could to compete with Star Wars. But the thing is, I don't think that the toy companies really understood this, as like, kids just didn't want to play with like space action figures in general. They wanted to play with Star Wars action figures. And, you know, if you were a fan of Flash Gordon or Star Trek or Buck Rogers or whatever, like I was perfectly happy to have characters like this. But it wasn't to compete with Star Wars. It wasn't like, you know, if I wanted a Star Wars action figure, I was going to get a Star Wars action figure. And if I wanted a Star Trek action figure, I was going to get a Star Trek action figure. And if I wanted a Flash Gordon action figure, then I'd get a Flash Gordon action figure. But honestly, the Flash Gordon action figures, like I said, they kind of cut a lot of corners on those, and they weren't quite as high quality as the Star Wars figures anyway. Same with the Battlestar Galactica line they came out with, and the Clash of the Titans line they came out with, which I really enjoyed those toys. But there's like a lot of weirdness, like they wouldn't paint in the eyeballs. Like they just kind of had like, you know, the eyeballs kind of sculpted in, but they didn't bother to paint in the eyeballs. So everybody looked kind of like they were blind or something. It was kind of a mess. But yeah, like I think with Ming, and I want to say on the original Ming figure, like the head was actually part of the same piece of plastic. It was all one molding. So you see how he has this high collar. It wasn't like a jointed head. It was just kind of like, you know, the same piece of plastic. Like the Mattel or Kenner did this with the Stormtrooper and Chewbacca. But Ming, I think they probably should have just given him a separate head and made it a separate color. Now, if you watch the old cartoon, I believe that on that cartoon, like Ming had, you know, kind of a deep tan, and this is probably a close enough color to that. But the uniform that he had, I believe, was kind of like an olive green. I'm kind of tempted to repaint this. But if I do, I don't think I'll do it until I can get a second one of these, which I might try to do at one point, and then repaint this one to be, more accurate to the cartoon, because I think that would look interesting. I think his helmet was also that same shade of olive green too, but I'm just kind of like vaguely remembering, because it's been a few years since I've watched that cartoon. It's a really good cartoon, and if you haven't watched it, you should. And even better than the animated series is the feature film they made, which was called The Greatest Adventure of All, and that one was really good. But it wasn't like how they did She-Ra and Secret of the Sword, where they just took like 5 episodes of She-Ra and kind of stitched them together to make a movie. No, like The Greatest Adventure of All had a lot of unique animation of itself, and it had this whole plot line where it tied in with how do I put this in YouTube friendly terms? The war that happened in the 1940s, and it turned out that Ming was supplying futuristic weapons to bad mustache man. So that was something that was not on the Saturday morning series, but it was in the movie, and it was pretty cool. So his accessories that he comes with, like with Flash, is he comes with an extra hand and the ray gun, which we already saw. And this looks like it's not the same hand that came with Flash. It's a different hand. The fists might be the same. I can't really tell. I'd have to compare them. But this hand is certainly different. I'll show you in a second. Yeah, there we got the other hand out. Is that it's actually got claws on it, which is really cool. And I have to imagine what happened is they reused the hand that came with the Defenders of the Earth Ming, which, if I'm looking at that figure, it does not look like it does not look anything like this Ming, and I don't think it shares any parts. Actually, when they do the movie version of Ming, I think they might wind up repainting that one, because it does look more like the costume Max von Sydow had in the movie. Like, look at the collar. That's very similar to the collar that he had in that movie. And this Ming does not have a collar like that. This is a very accurate to Alex Raymond sculpt of Ming. But I think if you were going to do the movie version, like that movie version the Defenders of the Earth would probably work better for the movie version. So, and this is a better hand to have on him than that fist anyway, because then I can have him pointing imperiously. Seize him, you fools! He's getting away! Destroy Flash Gordon at all costs! That's not what he sounded like on the cartoon, because on the cartoon he was voiced by Alan Oppenheimer. So if you're an 80s kid like me, and you went back and you watched that Flash Gordon action figure years after the fact, you're like, he sounds an awful lot like Skeletor. And like with Flash, he holds the ray gun fairly firmly in his hand, and the finger fits nicely into the trigger guard, and that's good. And also, like Flash Gordon, I wish he came with an extra gripping hand and a sword, because it would be cool to have these two engaged in some pretty epic sword fights. But unfortunately, it doesn't come with those things. It would also be nice if he had a cape. On the animated series, he had a cape, but again, they didn't give him one on the original action figure, so this figure doesn't have one either. So I think, as far as being a reproduction of the original Ming figure from the 70s, they did a good job. As far as being just the character in general, I think they could have done a lot of things to make this a better figure. But for what it is, being an homage to that figure from the 1970s, I don't think they could have done a better job than what they did. So whether or not you're going to like this figure is going to depend an awful lot on how much you liked those figures from the 70s and what kind of nostalgic feelings you have about them. If you're just, in general, a fan of Flash Gordon, you're going to wonder why Ming has such an odd and bland color scheme. Like, why isn't he wearing red like I normally think of Ming as wearing? Or, he could be wearing green or purple or some other kind of regal color, and instead he's wearing, like, beige and orange and some blue highlights, and it's just kind of weird color scheme for Ming. But, like I said, I don't blame Neca for that. Neca did a good job replicating that original figure. So if you want to be mad at anybody about that color scheme, don't be mad at Neca. Be mad at Mattel in the 1970s. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with him. I don't think he's quite as good a figure as Flash. I think Flash Gordon is a slightly better figure than this one, but it's still pretty cool. And being a big fan of Flash Gordon, I'm happy to have the hero himself and his archenemy as part of my collection. They don't make enough figures of Flash Gordon. Like, really, like, I would like to have more. And it seems like most of the ones they make these days are based on the movies. So I'm happy to have these that are, you know, based on toys, based on cartoons, because it's something that's a little more unique. And I certainly would have bought those Defenders of the Universe figures if I ever saw them. So maybe they'll show up around here one of these days. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, thumbs up to Ming, thumbs up to Flash. Let's look at them both together while I got them both. I suppose I can go over the articulation on this one, even though I already went over it on Flash. So the arms go all the way around the shoulders. The shoulders go up about so far. Not quite 90 degrees, but close enough to it. Rotate at the biceps all the way around. Double joints at the elbows. That's about how far they go up. Wrist goes all the way around. Hinges in and out. That's on both of them. The legs go up. He can do the splits, no problem. I hadn't noticed on Flash is the way that this is articulated here. I knew it was on a ball joint, but it also has like a little joint inside the thigh. So that gives you a little more posability. I didn't notice that on Flash because the pants are so dark on him, but with the beige on Ming, it was kind of hard not to notice. And then, of course, the boot cut with his Batman boots. That goes all the way around. It's really tight, but it does go all the way around. And then the really cool rocker ankles here, and the toe articulation. So that's his articulation scheme. Again, it's the same as with Flash Gordon. They're both really well articulated, and you should be able to get some pretty cool poses out of these guys. And maybe something like this. I'll get you yet, Flash Gordon. That's pretty cool. So yeah, so that's our two vintage carded Flash Gordon figures, both Flash and Ming. I recommend them for anybody who's a fan of these characters. These are really good representations of them. And like I said, the color scheme on Ming maybe could be a little better, but the sculpting is excellent. And you could very easily repaint him, I think. Repaint his uniform to be whatever color you want it to be, other than that beige. But I think I'll like I said, I'll try to get a second one and repaint one of them. I might leave one on the card. Like, I'm planning on getting another Flash Gordon to leave on the card. I might get another Ming to leave on the card and just leave that one in that color and repaint my loose one to be in the more accurate to the cartoon colors where he's wearing the olive green uniform. So that's pretty much it for Ming the Merciless. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and all the other fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about Ming the Merciless. Do you like this figure? Do you prefer the Defenders of the Universe figure? I'm looking forward to trying to find that one because I think he's really cool. And I'm looking forward to the movie figures when those come out because those are pretty sweet. But I think this one's all right. You know, let me know what you think about the character of Ming the Merciless in general. Like, like, were you more a fan of the movie or the cartoon? The movie serial? He was really good. I liked him in that. I think most people, again, probably more think of the live-action movie these days if they think of anything like Max von Sydow, who's a great actor just in general, but he was really good as Ming, so I really enjoyed his performance. But that's pretty much it for this time. We'll see you next time. Bye.